Lu Miaoyi playing white, and it's Tony Lazov playing the black pieces. This game was played in Serbia, and it was Valentine's Day of 2022. One of the most recent games we have of Lu Miaoyi's, although she did play some summer games as well. This is their live rating at the time. Their ratings have both changed, but let's go ahead and get right into the game. White starts with pawn to d4. We have the King's Indian on the board as Toni plays knight to f6. And then we have c4, just trying to control the center of the board. We're looking at this from Tony's perspective because this is kind of how I would play a lot of these moves or moves I would make. I really like playing this g6 move, getting my bishop to this diagonal. So this makes sense to me. We have knight to c3 now, attacking the center of the board. Both players playing book moves that have been played, well, depending on what database you look at, they've been played tens of thousands of times, 50,000, 80,000 on chess.com or on 365chess.com. Bishop to g7 now. Like I said, you want to bring that bishop to bear on that long diagonal, and it will eventually affect the center of the board a lot of times. So that's what's that's the idea behind it. Now we have pawn to e4, and white really just taking absolute control of the center of the board here. This can be a bit dangerous. Now this often happens in the King's Indian. This has happened, like I said, tens of thousands of times, if not hundreds of thousands of times actually, probably. So pawn to e4, very powerful move, taking control of the center. And now we have castles. So Toni castles here. Lu Miaoyi then develops her knight to f3. Always a strong move, or almost always. There's always some tricky things out there, but usually that's one of the strongest moves in an opening. And these are all book moves. These are all moves that have been played, like I said, thousands of times at this point. Nothing too surprising here. You want to develop your bishop so that you can hopefully castle. Usually you're not going to castle to the queen side if you push your c pawn like that, although I've seen some games recently where people have been doing that. But it's usually going to be a little safer to castle king side here, so that's probably what will happen. And now this next move is what turns this into a rare game. So from tens of thousands of moves down to just many dozens of moves, knight to a6 is played. And this is just not a principled move as far as I think about it. Knights on the rim are dim usually, but this is a wrinkle, and it has been played in games, and perhaps it could be a trick, that he prepared for or something. The idea being, pushing c5 and maybe gaining some extra, great spot for the knight, and having two central pawns where they only have one if they capture you. And it is a move, like I said, it is a move that's been played. It's just, I think it was the 7th most rare move on Chess 365. Now Lu Miaoyi actually picks the 7th most rare response, which turns out to be the strongest move according to Stockfish. Queen to c2, kind of helping to watch the center of the board. It ends up being a great square later on as well. Pawn to c5 now. That was the whole idea behind this awkward looking move, with knight to a6 on the previous move. And Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and grabs a little more ground here with pawn to d5. And there was only 3 games that have played to this point here in the Masters database. And okay, so there was 4 games that played this move d5, and a couple of them did play this move e6, which was played in this game. Then we have castles. So white castles king side, pawn captures on d5. So black plays pawn captures on d5. This is actually the best move as rated by Stockfish, but it is as of this move 9, that we have a completely new game. This hasn't been played before, and Lu Miaoyi captures back, and that was the strongest move in the position. She's really solidifying her center here. Kind of black's position feels a bit cramped, I would say. I think Tony sitting across the board from her is starting to feel maybe a little bit uncomfortable. But, you know, he knows chess principles, so he goes and plays bishop to g4, developing a piece, getting closer to connecting his rooks. Nicely, the bishop is even defended, so that's pretty handy there on g4. And Lu Miaoyi develops her bishop as well, putting a little bit of pressure on the d6 pawn and connecting her rooks at the same time. Of course, we want to connect our rooks to enable them to support each other later in the game. And now I think Tony was feeling like this was a bit awkward. So yeah, this move doesn't seem to have worked out. He didn't gain any extra center control really. I don't know. I guess he kind of has something on that square there since there's no pawn that can challenge it. But the knight is poorly placed, so he decides he's going to go ahead and move his knight back to c7. The computer prefers going after the bishop right away. Just go ahead and attack the bishop there, which is interesting. It said rather than taking the knight off the edge of the board over here, the computer actually recommends having both knights on the side of the board first, at least, chasing the bishop back because, yeah, that bishop should be a more valuable piece in this position, or at least as the game continues. But anyway, he plays knight to c7 here. And Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and brings her rook over to d1. Yeah, just centralizing a rook, getting involved, but that is the strongest move as rated by Stockfish. And now Tony goes ahead and attacks the bishop, which is a darn good move, going after that bishop, just driving the bishop back. Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and moves her bishop to g5. And now Tony makes what they're saying is a mistake here, pushing the pawn instead. But it's difficult to see why that is. We'll come back and take a look at this after the game, after we go through the whole game. Why the bishop move is better. We'll take a look at that. But in the game, he played this move, and Lu Miaoyi brought her bishop all the way back to c1, where it was born. I don't know, maybe to look after that pawn or something. I'm not sure why she brought it so far back. Seems like it would have been fine, or if not better, here. That's difficult to say. But yeah, she brings it all the way back to c1. She certainly knows what she's doing. It's Lu Miaoyi, so yeah, she's got a lot figured out on the chessboard. Now, this is certainly a mistake now. So pushing the pawn here, I mean, it's just a minor error, an inaccuracy, Chess.com would say. So the bishop is now pretty much going to have to be traded for the knight. So Tony played pawn to f5, and now the bishop is basically trapped. And Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and goes right after it. She just attacks the bishop, and now, yeah, you've got to trade your bishop for the knight. That's just, that's the best you're going to do. Although the computer says you might actually be able to get away with just going ahead and capturing that pawn first. And then if you get captured, you can capture back there. But again, we can come back to that after. Let's just kind of stay with the game. So bishop captures on f3, then we have bishop captures on f3 by white, and now pawn to f4, which is a solid move in the position. And now Lu Miaoyi plays knight to e2, putting pressure on that newly pushed pawn. There's two defenders, there's two attackers. That's a semi-loose pawn, so it's of interest there. It could fall fairly easily. It can be involved in tactics. Anything that has the same number of attackers and defenders is game for foul play, tactics on the board. Now, Tony blunders here. He plays queen to h4. And it's not entirely clear Why that's a blunder? It basically comes down to pawn structure, the way the pawn structure is going to turn out here. Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and captures the pawn here, or captures. Lu Miaoyi plays bishop captures h5. She plays bishop captures h5. The best moves, as suggested by the engines, is going ahead and capturing the bishop with the queen. You might say, well, you got that fork coming. This was a semi-loose pawn, right? One attacker or two attackers. He has two defenders. So that's a problem. We can't really capture with the queen, or we're going to get forked there, or we're going to you lose the pawn and get attacked. But the pawn structure is going to be a real problem. If you capture with the pawn, then yeah, you've got doubled isolated pawns on the H file, and yeah, you've got an isolated pawn on the F file. They're all sitting ducks out there. And it's on your king side, so that's horrible. So Tony does go ahead and capture with the queen, which is the best move he can make, but he's losing now. He's down. Yeah, he's in a really rough spot. He's basically, the computer says he's down nearly 4 points at this point. Lu Miaoyi, of course, well, actually, which way do you capture? Lu Miaoyi plays bishop captures f4, which is a great move, putting pressure on Tony right away. That pawn's under attack, kind of a backward pawn there. Tony plays bishop to e5, bishop to e5, and that's a good move. There's, it's hard to play from his perspective at this point. He's in some trouble. Now Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and attacks the queen with, so Tony played bishop to e5. I'm not sure if I said that out loud. And now Lu Miaoyi plays knight to g3, attacking the queen, and yeah, Tony's going to have to find a different spot for her. So there's really not anything you can do. You've got this issue with the bishop. Tony moves his queen to h4 here, queen to h4, and now Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and captures the bishop, just kind of messing up the pawn structure here. So now this pawn is isolated. So that was the best move for Tony, but now he's got some weaknesses. He's got a bunch of weaknesses, and Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and gobbles up one of those weaknesses with queen captures c5, and Tony actually, again, he's in a rough spot. He's completely lost. The computer says he's down by 6.5 points, but he does find the strongest move in the position, knight to a6, attacking the queen, and he can kind of defend himself if he plays right here, but it's tough. Now, Lu Miaoyi plays queen to b5, threatening this pawn here, but it's not necessarily a good move for the queen to capture that pawn. The rooks are connected. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to have your rooks connected. And if the rook comes here, you're going to lose your pawn here. But the only problem is, of course, your knight would be hanging there. So you got to figure out something to do with that knight. Like I said, it's a bit tough to play from his position. He is finding strong moves. He now plays queen to f6, queen to f6, very strong move there, considering what he's got to work with. But yeah, Lu Miaoyi just goes ahead and advances the pawn to d6, and this is scary. We've got this pawn over here too that can get into this battle. This is really difficult to defend. Whoops. And Tony finds another solid move. He just plays rook a to b8, and Lu Miaoyi now plays queen to d5 check, and definitely one of the strongest moves in the position. The computer does recommend playing pawn to f4, would have been better, but queen to queen d5 as played by Lu Miaoyi was definitely strong. And now the king moves to g7, so black plays king to g7. And now we do see pawn to pawn to f4. So Lu Miaoyi plays pawn to f4, which is a very strong move in this position. And there's not a lot that Tony can do here. He needs to just take what he can get, try to defend himself. He plays pawn captures on f4. Pawn captures f4, attacking the knight. Of course, you're not probably going to take the knight at this point because your queen is pinned. Yeah. And now Lu Miaoyi plays the strongest move in position, and I really respect this guy. He's battling out because this is a hard move to take, I think. Pawn to e5, attacking the queen, and now we've got connected pass pawns. White's got connected pass pawns. That's a whip hand. You know, those are yeah. There's going to be new queens born if you try to continue playing this game, and you know. Tony does find a strong move. He plays queen to h4 in response, and you know that's one of the best moves you can make in the position, but it's kind of a bit hopeless. Lu Miaoyi just plays pawn to e6. You know, we got connected pass pawns. That's your whip hand. Use it. And Stockfish says that's a brilliant move. Again, it's one of those moves that seems a bit obvious to me, but it's definitely a very strong move. And now the knight is captured. Tony goes ahead and grabs the knight. And now queen comes to e. So I should say Tony grabbed the knight on g3. So right there in front of the king. And now Lu Miaoyi plays queen to e5 check, which was the strongest move in the position. Tony blocks with his rook. He plays rook to f6, blocking this check. We have rook goes to f3. Lu Miaoyi plays rook to f3, attacking the queen, trying to force her to back away. She does. She backs down to h4. And again, this was a very strong move. Lu Miaoyi just goes ahead and pushes her pawn. She pushes the e pawn, and it's defended by the queen. So he's gonna have to at least give off his rook to capture the new queen. And Black steps to h6. Black king to h6, just trying to get out his king safe. And Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and pushes the other pawn. So we have pawn to d7. And now we have rook to f5. Rook to f5, attacking the queen. And I think she does bring it back. She offers a queen trade. So Lu Miaoyi plays queen to e1. Happy, queen trade would be fine for her in this position because she's going to get a new queen. And no, Tony doesn't want that. He would like not to die in this game. He's fighting on. This guy's, he's hanging in there. This is impressive fortitude here. But Lu Miaoyi goes ahead and plays pawn to d8, queen. And now Tony plays rook to e5. Okay, so this game did not go that far. We actually went on beyond move. It ended on move 31. What are we on? Okay, so I messed this up. I kind of explored the line. So Tony didn't actually go that far. He did not actually play that long. He actually resigned a few moves back. He actually resigned when Lu Miaoyi played e7. And so, yeah, I said we'd kind of go beyond and look at the game as, seeing why he resigned. But yeah, his last move, he resigned on move 31, which was e7. Let me double check that. Yep. Yeah, he resigned on move 31, e7. That was the end of the game. Now, let's go back. Though. We're going to go back now and take a look way back. We'll take a look at this idea here first. So the computer said that this was a blunder. Well, it didn't say it was a blunder. It said it was a mistake. It wasn't like a huge mistake. But pushing the pawn, I think it kind of weakened the king side. That's something you want to watch out for. It suggested instead that he should have played bishop out here. He should have played bishop to f6. So bishop to f6 would have been better. The computer thinks that if you play this move, they're just gonna move their bishop back. So I guess if as long as they don't take your bishop, that's okay. Maybe I'm too attached to my bishop. I often play this same opening, and I also play the Sicilian Dragon, and I like to hang on to this bishop to kind of keep my king safe. So I often wouldn't play that move. But that's okay. That's fast forward. That doesn't seem to be that wasn't that big of a deal. So he plays queen to h4, and queen h4 was a blunder as looked at by Stockfish. Okay, so queen to h4 was a blunder. Okay, but the computer recommends playing bishop to e7, or excuse me, bishop to e5, bishop to e5, and the sequence. And I'm not sure that this is necessarily better because bishop captures, and so we have pawn captures. Now we've got isolated pawns all over the place. Our king is like his castle walls were blown down. So I don't know that I agree with the computer that this was a better position than actually had happened in the game. I mean, similar thing does happen, but yeah, it's not clear why this is better. I guess because the bishop is defending this pawn, it does create kind of like a pawn structure there. Maybe that's favorable, although the king is not looking too safe there. Let's go ahead and end it there, though. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if there's any aspect of a game you'd like me to talk more about, look into. I'm trying to include more detail in these videos to kind of help all of us get deeper into the games. Yeah, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.